All right, this is the Chase Carter Concept Podcast, Tuesday, October 6th, 2020. Let's get into it. Let's get right into it. No messing around. So, what I want to talk about, of course, I'm going to talk about my life in general for probably the first 20 minutes or so. Second 20 minutes. I want to see about different sports topics and what I find interesting. Stupid people getting mad at LeBron James for walking off the court 3 seconds before he should have. And then also people who don't follow the sport, like my girlfriend, hears about it at work, knows I like basketball, texts me the article, saying, "Can you believe this? He quit in the middle." I was like, "No, what? What are you hearing?" And you just realize when people aren't a part of the culture, I guess, or whatever it is, you can misread or misinterpret what actually happened. It's not like, and it's completely not a big deal. Completely not a big deal. Don't know why I'm talking like that. But so, first thing I want to know, mostly, I'm getting a lot of content out of my girlfriend because she's a deep well of content. Let's just say that. It's entertaining to say the least. I always thought it would be, I thought of a joke the other day. It was always one of my goals, or it would be pretty cool to have a girlfriend who's into sports, someone who I can watch sports with, until I got a girlfriend who's from Massachusetts. And, the Patriots. Everything's about the Patriots. She said she was a Boston Celtics fan, because everything, at least she stays in one city. I do like that. But now she's rooting for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because her ex-favorite boyfriend quarterback is on that team. I'm like, no. There's one. You have one team, and you root for that one team. That's what you do. You can hope. If Tom Brady left you, okay, he broke up with you, he left you. Granted, he did do a lot of things in favor of the team over his 20 years, or however many years in the league. It seems like all of these players have been. How long has LeBron James been in the league? 20? Wow, 20 years. How long was Kobe Bryant? In 20? Wow, 20 years. Interesting. Damn. Something we usually don't see ever. But just not knowing, she was watching the game and she was getting excited and upset the last Kansas City Chiefs game, or versus the Kansas City Chiefs, Patriots Kansas City. And she was like, we had an interception or a fumble that shouldn't have been a fumble. And I'm like, why do you think it shouldn't have been a fumble? There was a fumble and she described it in a way to where she didn't think it should have been a fumble because the arm was going back, and people know as if the arm's going forward and you lose the ball, it's a pass, not a throw. Or it's a pass, not a throw. I'm an idiot. It's a incompleted pass, not a fumble. And she had the way she described the play, I couldn't understand exactly what happened. I wasn't that interested even to watch it, to be honest with you. And so she was telling me a play where they were in the red zone, the Patriots were, and they threw an interception. And she was like, yeah, and they were at the Reds, and she kept describing things in little cute ways, and she didn't really understand. She understood what happened, but she couldn't describe it. And for her to, for a college-educated woman to talk about something that she likes and loves, apparently, and to not know the correct verbiage, I don't know if that's even the correct verbiage, was so entertaining. And I don't know that much about football, but I know it's like in the red zone, at the line of scrimmage. What kind of play was it? Did the quarterback start under center? Was he in a shotgun formation? Was it like an I formation? I know little things about the game. I maybe know 5 or 10% of the lingo, and that's basically from playing Madden. And I tried to show her how to play Madden, and she wasn't interested. She's like, no, I don't like it. You pick a play, and then the play is there, and then it's over. Why can't it be? She said that's why she likes FIFA, the soccer game, because it's a constant play. It's a constant. It's not a play, stop, play, stop. I'm like, but you watch football, and that's all it is. The game clock is ticking. There's more downtime in football than there is actually plays with action in it. And she's like, well, I can watch that because it's nice little breaks. I can be on my cell phone or whatever. I can take little breaks, but then you get action. You get a little bit of action, but to actually play. So I thought that was an interesting way that the game didn't capture her attention. So she was talking about she was talking about the game and just doing a terrible job, and I was just giving her so much shit for it. It was adorable. It was adorable. And then the backup quarterback threw the interception, and then they benched him, and then she's like, well, I feel so bad for him. He was the backup. He finally gets a chance to play, and then they put in this, I guess, a rookie or some other guy. I have no idea, the third-string quarterback, and then he goes down the field for a touchdown. And then she's like, oh, I'm so happy, but then I feel bad at the same time because maybe he would. I was like, no, these are two backup quarterbacks. In my head, I'm thinking this. They're going to fail. I don't know why Kansas City Chiefs didn't blow them out in the first half. It was a close game. It was like 6-3, and it was in the third quarter. I'm like, this shouldn't be happening. Patriots are down their quarterback. Like, this, it seems like one of those games that, like, the Kansas City Chiefs, there was an interception that the Patriots just dropped, and then the next play, Mahomes ran for 19 yards, and then a touchdown ensued after that. The Patriots had their, I think it was their strong safety, just had a pick right in his hands and just dropped it, which is the reason he's a strong safety instead of a wide receiver. That could have swung the game, but then when the Patriots got the ball the next possession, they threw a pick six. So, like these games, low-scoring games, there's like, usually you can see like one or two opportunities where it's like, well, if that hadn't happened, if he would have gotten both hands on the ball, if a receiver would have caught this, they had one little sliver of hope, one option, and usually the game hinges on that. But then you can say, well, if he didn't throw that pick, and then you can do all these what-if things, and it doesn't really matter. But the game was close. It was competitive until, near the end, and then Kansas City seemed to have control of it. They started to score, and once they started to score, it's weird. It's like floodgates. It just opens up, and then when it rains, it pours, it said. What they say. So, I don't know exactly. I don't know what the final score was. I have no idea. I just heard her excitement. She would less enthusiastic reactions later in the game. So I'm assuming Kansas City either got a lead and held it or just kept scoring. But I asked her, I was like, well, was he under, like, what? I was like, describe the interception play. They're like, well, they were at the red zone, and she called it a turnover. She didn't call it an interception. I was like, did he fumble it? Was it an interception? And I didn't get an answer out of that. And I was like, well, what kind of play was, or where was he? Because I'm thinking like maybe he was scrambling. Maybe it was like a guy tackled him from his blind side. If he's right-handed, that would be on the left. If he's left-handed, it'd be on the right side. So I'm trying to figure out, but then it becomes a game to me. Like, how can I get her to describe football in her own words? And she's terrible at it. And so am I, but that's besides the point. It's really cute when she does it. And so I was like, was he under center? Was it like shotgun formation? What kind of, and I'm just saying all these things, and I know she has no idea what these things are. And she's like, well, they were at the red zone. And I was like, well, you can't be at the red zone. You can be in the red zone or not in the red zone. Like, you can be at the 20 and in yard line, 19, 18, 17, 16. You can be at all those spots, or you're not in the red zone. I was like, I was like, and then I was like, okay, so before the play started and they all came up to the line of scrimmage, and then I thought, Maybe she doesn't know what the line of scrimmage is. And then I was like, okay, well, I asked her, do you know what the line of scrimmage is? And they're like, yeah, that's where they place, that's where they get the ball to, she said. That's where they get the ball to. And I'm like, yeah, that's where they get the ball to. No, that's the last play where the last person was tackled. That's where the ball is, and that's where it's placed. And it was the way she's like really close when she describes things, but it's just like it's almost as if she is from a different country, and she learned about the sport for like a month, and it's like what they were in the football game but she's from here. She's been watching it her whole life. It's like know the terminology. But I think what happens is watching movies with her, she doesn't listen. She doesn't retain the information because we'll be watching a movie. We're watching Black Panther, and she'll pause it, and she'll have a whole bunch of questions about things that just happened or things they're going to explain. And I'm like, just watch the movie. Just watch it. If you misheard something, then, pause and like, wait, did he say this or did she say that? But it's a constant misunderstanding of what's like in front of her, or she has a issue. And it's so cute because she is just, oh, I just find it funny. She's like a little lost puppy, and you're trying to like, no, come here, you adorable little creature, come here. I'll explain it in a way that makes sense to me. Maybe I'm stupid too. Did you just call your girlfriend stupid? I said I'm stupid as well. We're all stupid. If you don't think you're stupid, there's something wrong. No, is that self-deprecation? Just so you can call her stupid? Yes, it is. It's okay. If I call myself stupid, that means I can call her stupid. It's okay. So we've been playing. We've been watching that. And then I'll just bring up the story about LeBron James leaving the court. He left the court with like 5 seconds to go. And then he came back, stood there, and then the clock ran off, and then he left. Ran out. The clock ran out, and then he left. And people were giving him crap for it. People will give him crap for anything that he does. And I'm not a LeBron James fan. I don't like players jumping from team to like so many teams to teams. That's just not something that I find that will help the game. But maybe I'm going to say old school. I'm 34. Maybe I'm too old. But I like Dirk. I like Dirk staying with Dallas and not having an issue. I like Tim Duncan, even though Tim Duncan, he wanted to leave at one point. He was really close to leaving. I like how Kobe Bryant stayed, but Kobe Bryant wanted to leave. He wanted to go to the Bulls. He threatened to go to a whole bunch of different places. But was that him just trying to put pressure on? Now it was him trying to put pressure on management to get a good team around him. And maybe he had to threaten to leave. But like, if your team was giving him what they were giving Kobe at the time, I would get out of there. And then you look at players like Kevin Garnett. He should have left Minnesota years ago. So if you don't have the right, management in place, people that don't seem to care about winning, then get out of there. But then like LeBron leaves LeBron, they try to put a good team around him. They overextend themselves so where they can't. There's no flexibility to bring in new players or bring in better players. They go all out to try to put the best team around him, the Cavs, early in his career. They fail. Then he goes to Miami. And then there was a contract dispute like, hey, if you sign this 4-year deal, at the end of the 4th year, we're not going to have the financial flexibility if you were to sign like a 3-year deal. And LeBron says, no, I want that 4th year. I want that extra year. And they all agreed to it. It's like, look, if you guys do this 3-year deal, we're going to have more flexibility at the back end. And they all took the 4th year. And that is the reason why when Miami went through the 4 years, at the end, they didn't have any room to do anything because they put this in place. That's what the story is. Now, is it who knows what actually happened? But they didn't have any flexibility. And all the capologists look at, well, they would have signed a 3-1 instead of a 4-year deal for some reason. It would have given less flex. But is that like a story that just craps on LeBron James and like they're selfish? Like, well, if all of their contracts were up at the 3-year deal, like the next contract, I think the next contracts were going to be way more at the beginning. I think something like that happened. Because if they added that 4th year, then all 3 of those players were eligible to get more next year, and then those 3 contracts, if they were to sign them, would be their entire cap basically, and they wouldn't have any room to go out and sign any good role players. At least that's what the story was. But it's just interesting. So if you're for LeBron, it's like he walked off the court. Who cares? The game was over. If you're against him, look at him. Unbelievable. This arrogant. He lost a game and he can't even he doesn't care. Like, he cares that he lost. But so you walk off the court with 5 seconds to go. And there were other players on the Lakers headed back to the locker room. They don't need to shake everybody's hand every game. Now, if you lose a series, yeah, go shake people's hands. But a game, like, they're in the bubble. They see the Miami Heat every day. Except if you're Jimmy Butler, who apparently stays in his room all the time. But it's funny, she just texted me that, and I was like, no, you don't know. But it's the people, and I've been casually watching basketball. I haven't been into it as much as I used to, because every 2 seconds they're telling me about politics, and I don't want to. I do not want to get my politics from people who specialize in basketball. Like, they can tell me stories about injustices and their personal stories. That's fine. But when they criticize these other people they don't know, it's the same thing I hear. Like when politics criticize basketball players. I'm like, they're allowed to have their opinion about shit. Who cares? Now, if you start but if once the basketball players enter politics, I think politicians have the right to counteract them. If LeBron James talks about the police department or the fire department, but let's be honest, he's not going to talk about the fire department. He's going to talk about the police department. If he's talking about the police department, anyone in the police department has the right to talk shit about LeBron, criticize LeBron James. Because it's not like the police were just sitting there, they're sitting there not saying anything about LeBron James. Publicly, anyway. Privately, everyone has opinions about sports athletes just in general. I don't know if I'm making sense right now. But it's just interesting how they shit on him for these unfair reasons. And then all of the other reasons where you can shit on him, they don't. Like, people should have been way more upset with his stance with China, I feel, when he's talking about equality and justice. Somewhere is an injustice for everybody everywhere, quoting Martin Luther King. And apparently it's just injustice in America for people that look like you. I was like, well, you only care about people that look like you, but yet you criticize people that only care about people that look like them. So I'm like, well, you're doing the exact same thing, basically, in my head. Like, you can't. What about your business dealings in China? Do you realize it's a communist government that has concentration camps that put certain Muslims in education? They force them to go in there? Oh, no, you don't. Well, I don't know much about that. I'm not educated on their way of life. It's like, it's a 10-minute Google search, LeBron. You're smart. Oh, but it's a business deal, and that's fine. He can do business with whoever he wants to. But when you talk about equality for everybody on the planet, injustice somewhere is an injustice to everybody everywhere. Everywhere is not just the United States. It's on the planet. And I'm not saying LeBron James has any business fixing. I don't care if he goes over there and is a part of the Communist Party and makes millions of dollars. Go ahead, dude. If it's legal, go ahead. I have no right to criticize you. But when you make statements that, just like how pretty much everybody does, they're like, well, that's not fair. And then stealing is wrong. And then they go to Target or whatever and shop. And then they take a Snickers bar and they eat it. while walking through, then they just throw the wrapper away. It's like, well, you're stealing there. Now, granted, does that hurt as much as, going into someone's house and robbing them at gunpoint? No, I don't believe so. But it's stealing still. I don't know. It's different levels to it. But it's just interesting that... I always say interesting. I say interesting. It's fascinating. It's exploratory. But yeah, so LeBron is... He's fine. He's fine. It's interesting tonight, the game 4. It's going to be interesting. Are the Lakers going to kind of not respect him too much? Are they going to come out flat? Anthony Davis hasn't been here before. People, before the first 2, and then during the first 2 games, he was, Anthony Davis might be the best player in the world. And then he had like 16 points, and he's not the person we thought he was. Like, what? He's allowed to have a bad game. Michael Jordan would have never... Nobody... First of all, Jordan, he was supposed to score. That's what his job was. He averaged 30 for his career, which is unheard of. I hate when it's like it's Michael Jordan or bust. Like LeBron James has been to the NBA Finals 10 times. And that's an amazing accomplishment. And then people bring up, well, he hasn't won. Michael Jordan is flawless. So like, yeah, when he got to the finals, but he lost a whole bunch before that. So we're gonna criticize LeBron James for getting to the finals, but then not winning the finals. So if he would have lost in the 3rd or 2nd round, it wouldn't be as bad. It's like, no, well, he was the best player in the Eastern Conference. He carried teams pretty much by himself a lot of the times to the NBA Finals. He won, 2 games against the Golden State Warriors by himself after Kevin Love got injured against the Celtics. Kelly Olynyk ripped out his arm. It was an accident. And then Kyrie got hurt in the first game of the NBA Finals, and he still beat Golden State twice with Matthew Dellavedova. Like, this guy's a great player. Top 3, top 2. He's probably the second. If I were to pick a player that if you just had to redraft the entire history of the NBA in a modern day game, it'd be Jordan, and I would it'd have to be LeBron James, number 2. Like Magic would have to learn how to shoot better. Magic wasn't a great shooter. Like you can pick Bird, but is Bird gonna? But then Bird would obviously he would be training like players would today. So I mean, his defense would be better. Like, and it's just I don't know. It would be so fascinating to see how old school players adapted to today's game. And then you can even say the reverse, how the new players today, but those new players are just so much better athletes than the ones back in the day. The game was slower. That's why you saw people with no muscle definition playing in the NBA, because they just play basketball. They drank beer and played basketball. They didn't lift weights in the off season 3 times a day. But it's just kind of cool to hear her having a layman's understanding of basketball, and so I think it's like from her coworkers. I think she has a few coworkers who pretend to know about sports, and it's just and they have these hot takes. They listen to Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith have these outlandish, and then everyone is, no, you know what the problem is? I'll tell you the problem right now. And they start yelling, and just instead of having a conversation, can we just have a conversation? I know it's like a polarizing. They're like like a TikTok sports take, where it's just this insane. They say these things, and I don't think they think about them too much. There was a funny clip I saw where a talking head said Kawhi Leonard has had more clutch moments than Kobe Bryant. And then the guy talking, the other guy who was on the same show as him, I know their names, but I don't want to say their names. Jay Williams was the one that countered, and he was like, "Oh yeah, name those moments." And then the talking head was like, he was like, "Okay, how about this?" So it's like, and then he went into a different conversation, a completely different topic. It's like, no, back up. It's the same thing with politicians. You see, Kamala Harris called Joe Biden a racist and a sex offender, and then years later runs with him. And then to defend that statement, she's like, "Well, it was a debate." It's like, no, you're not You're debating on policies, not a person's actions. And so whenever they call people a racist, like, you have to have evidence. You have to have actual proof. Here's a policy. This person. I don't care if it's Trump or Biden. This is what Biden did that negatively affected these people. They took land away from Native Americans here to build something, or whatever you want to say. Wouldn't allow these people in their apartment complexes that they own. This is what happened. Exactly. Or if you have evidence, like all of these things, like say Biden, if these people, I don't know, because then if these people were actually racist, you would think people around them would know about, like, it's a polarizing figure. If I can get this guy on tape to say something racist and release it to the public, it's going to be worth millions of dollars. And yet none of these things have come out. The only thing that came out was Trump being derogatory and just talking as most guys do. And that's why it wasn't a big deal. Most guys talk that way when we're just shooting the shit, joking around, being ridiculous, trying to make the guy across from us laugh. We just say stupid shit. And then it's the same thing. You wouldn't, like, there's dinner table etiquette where the whole family's around, and then when everyone goes their separate ways, the guys go to the bar or what have you, the girl, like, those conversations become R-rated. You're not going to say the same thing in front of your kids as you do, your best friend from college or whatever, your drinking buddy. I don't know. I'm getting off topic here. Girlfriend, video games, sports. Been talking 15 minutes about nonsense. So I've been watching fix-it videos on YouTube. Woodworking, how to fix little things around the house. There's doorknobs loose. And so I've been watching Adam Savage fix all these cool little things around his shop, and it, for some reason, makes me want to fix things around the house. So we have a doorknob that's loose, but the only screw that fits that we have, I don't want to go buy, is the screw's too long. So then I'm like, okay, crap, I got to find a tool, a rotary tool with a metal cutting blade to cut through that. So I've been looking at all the, and I'm like, ooh, what about, like, I can get this with all these attachments, and then I could, and then our bedroom door doesn't close all the way. So what we do is we have a towel, a small little hand towel that we put in between the door and the door frame, and then that just kind of keeps it closed so the cats don't wander into the bedroom, because I'm allergic and I don't want to be sneezing the entire time. So we got the door lock mechanism, and we try to put it in, but the hole in the door is too shallow. It sticks out too much. So I have to figure out a wood tool long enough to dig into the door hole. I don't even know what it's called. So I've been trying to look up that, and that's a whole new thing. I'm like, ooh, this, and then I find the long tool, but then it's like, well, what else can I use this for? This is a one-time purchase. Does anybody I know would have it? I can borrow it, and I don't have to spend $40 for like a one fix kind of thing. So I'm trying to get all these like kits that have multiple attachments, so I can do different things if other things occur in the place or whatever. But it's just this. It's like, oh, I want this one-time fix, $40, or I can spend $80 and get all the attachments. I can get the tool, and just, I'm like, in case anything else pops up. How long am I going to be watching these fix-it videos on YouTube? And then the drying rack for our utensils, our forks, our spoons. We know what utensils is. We know what utensils are. Use the right word, Chase. I need a vocabulary book. But the bottom would drop out, so the little tiny nails that was originally put together with obviously aren't that good. And then my girlfriend, she found a little pin, like a push-it pin or whatever, and put that through, and then that doesn't hold it either. I fixed it twice with one nail, and I thought the one nail would hold it. Didn't hold it. So the other day I got about 6 little tiny nails, and obviously realized the little tiny nails, since it's smaller wood, it's lighter wood, wouldn't split it. Fixed it, haven't had a problem since. And for some reason, fixing something, I've never been motivated to do it. Really, I've never looked around the house. Like, my girlfriend's more like that. She looks around the place. What can we do? What's all this stuff? And I'm like, does it work? It's fine. But once something doesn't work anymore, then I'm like, okay, I need to fix that. Or if I can work around it, like the door, I can put the rag in the door forever. It doesn't really bother me. I don't need the door to close every time. Plus, my girlfriend, she slams doors all the time, and I don't want her to be able to slam our bedroom door. And she doesn't slam it as she's Puerto Rican and she has a temper, which she does, but she's like one of those dogs, like those. Did you just compare your girlfriend to a dog? Yes, she's like a big dog that doesn't know it's big. Like a dog that used to sit in your lap when it was 1 and now it's 7 and it still sits in your lap. And it's real clumsy. We have our closet is a sliding glass or sliding mirror, like a closet door, and she just boom hits it. I'm like, we have neighbors upstairs, and she's like, oh, sorry, sorry. Like, what do you do? What are you doing? Yeah, so I got to find a good rotary tool to cut, and that could also be, if I get a long drill bit, maybe on that I can carve out the wood. Maybe, I don't know. Then I got to find a good, my stepdad always gave me, or gave me the impression he likes DeWalt tools. Everything was pretty much DeWalt, and they're a good quality tool. So I'm trying to find all these different things. I'm just like, yeah, so I've been playing. What games have I been playing? We're 33 minutes in. All right. Halfway there. There's some cool. What game did I see? There's all these different things. There's NHL. I was never too into the hockey games. But there's this interesting NHL. It's NHL 21. There's a player conversation mechanic in the game. You be a pro, so you pick one player and you only control that player. You can make promises to management and to other teammates, and then whether you fulfill those promises, your standing within the team goes up, and so your stats increase. And there's all these different little things that they showed in the video. If you want to look it up, NHL 21, be a pro. But it doesn't really go into the mechanics, and they don't really have the conversations. It shows two people talking, but I don't think they're voice acted. I think it's text based, and I think a lot of people would like a voice captured single player mode type thing, where it's a story that it develops. You make different choices, and then from those choices, different things happen in the game. I mean, it's real simple. I've always wanted this in the basketball game, but your choices don't really matter in NBA 2K games. 0 choices are made. In the new 2K21, you get to pick an agent, I heard, and that's the only thing that matters. I would like, and you don't even have to have it be a huge branching storyline, but if you go to college. Say no, you're in high school. Say it's your high school your final year in high school, your senior year of high school, and you play your senior year. And how you do in your senior year. If you lose a lot, I would say, if you lose a lot, the storyline is negative, obviously. It's like, oh yeah, we're here, we're getting through, and then if you play well, I don't know how there's too many. I think there's too many options, because if you really get into the details of it, it's easier to write a story and to come up with something really linear. But if you have a system that you can branch it, can you just not copy and paste, but just put in different scenarios, or you just have different points in your. I don't know. I'd have to sit down and think about it in more detail, because I would love a basketball game where you start in high school, you play well. If you play well, you go for like a state championship, and then depending on your stats, you get higher rank in the high school rankings. You get ranked higher. You get to higher prestige schools like you. And say if you want to make an undersized point guard, if you want to make like a 6'1" point guard, certain places won't look at you because you're undersized. And then you can go to like a mid-major and still play well. Still take a team to the Final Four or what have you. Get noticed. And if you have if you have a really good run, your freshman year, you could come out of you can just be a year in college and come out, be a one-and-done player. Or if you're a really, really good high school prospect, you make a 7-foot center that can shoot threes, or Kevin Durant, he's amazing. You're a one-and-done guy. You're just going to college for 1 year, and then you're out of there. Or do you want to develop in college? You're like, well, my overall is this, and then they can have like a potential, if you go to the NBA, your potential overall will be within this range. And you're like, well, I don't want to risk being a bad player at the start of my career, so I'm just going to spend another year in college, based off your performance and your stats and whatnot. And then depending on that, then you can go into the NBA at a higher. But then there's your overall. I don't know, because then that mess with your overall ranking, because you build up your stats, you build up your attributes, and that affects your overall ranking. So I don't know. Or maybe you just start out at this like vanilla baseline, and then everything's kind of equal. You just have a good jumper, depending on the type of player that you build. If you build a shooter and you have good shooting stats, then your overall could start out at a 75, maybe. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here. But I want choices with agents. I would like choices with like family, dealing with family and all that stuff. But I don't know how difficult that would be to weave into the story, and would it even be worth it? Really. Like you have girlfriends in the game, and then it'd be cool to be able to pick different girlfriends, break up with them, those kind of things. You can, I don't know, but then do you want to build it? You want to have a house? Do you want to rent a house, buy a house? You have all these different choices. You have different, obviously you can get to pick what brand you want to go with. Adidas, Reebok, Nike. That's in the game. I don't know. I think it would be it would be something they would have to work on for years and years and years. It couldn't be like a one-off season. But just thinking about it, it's like, oh, that'd be cool. And then obviously if it's voice acted, you have to do all the voice acting. It would be like if an NBA game came out every 4 years, like a giant RPG, and they added hundreds of hours of like a Witcher 3 dialogue tree where things affect other aspects of the game. I think that would be cool in a video game in the back, but I think the way that it's set up, the game developers, they have 9 months to add new things into the game, but then they also have these side projects where things get worked on for 2 or 3 years. Like, hey, that feature's cool, let's put that aside. You guys, this group works on that feature for the next 2 or 3 years, and then hopefully we get to put that in the game at some point. And then the rest of the majority of the development team has to work on gameplay improvements, getting rid of this bug, making sure this animation doesn't happen, making the textures look good, making the game run a little bit better, those aspects. But like having, I don't know, different features in the game would be, or more in-depth choices, but then that opens up a whole can of worms. When people mostly just want to go to the park and play stupid pickup basketball. I hate the park. The only reason the park was fun is because you get to play with your friends. That's the only reason. But the type of basketball that is so boring and so stupid. It's fadeaway threes, people trying to get ankle breakers, not passing the ball. It is everything about basketball that I cannot stand. It's not cool to me to get an ankle breaker, to break somebody's ankles. It's not cool to me anyway. I never understand dunking on somebody. I get it's like a emotional, like a very primal energy. But when granted, I was little and played on a lowered rim. That's the only time I could dunk. But when you dunk on somebody, it's just like, oh, okay, that's 2 points. I dunked on somebody. Cool. I don't get, but maybe because I'm not going 10 feet into the air, I'm not, in this vulnerable position, in the air. Anyone that, bumps into me could send me flying into the stanchion and end my career, and you just rise up over some 7-foot monster and dunk on him, and the whole crowd goes crazy. Maybe that part would be cool, but I don't get the dunk challenges when people are on Instagram. It's like, okay, one guy stands underneath the rim and the other guy takes a running start, try to dunk on me. I'm like, what are you doing? And maybe in the course of a game, you cut back door, someone throws you a lob, you catch it, someone bumps you and you dunk anyway, and one, and it's like, but then you're down 20 and it doesn't matter. People and scream and pound their chest. Like you're down 35 points right now. What are you doing? It's like when Russell Westbrook is losing the game and he's talking to LeBron James about doubling him. You better double me. You better double. And I'm like, do you not realize what's going on right now? You're losing the game. It's just these people who are detached from reality. And that pretty much sums up a lot of players in the NBA. Speaking of players that are detached from reality, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant were talking about how they don't have a head coach. And I don't know if they just misspoke or if they truly believe they don't have a head coach. Because if they don't have a head coach, then the Brooklyn Nets are paying Steve Nash to do nothing. If Kyrie's the head coach, let's make him the newest player coach. Him and Bill Russell. Because apparently him and Bill Russell just alike. Kyrie Irving has 1 championship ring, but in his head he thinks it's probably worth 10 championship rings, 11. How could you keep saying just stupid things? I don't get it. You're great, and this is one of the reasons why when it comes to you don't, I don't know, worship these players. You don't, if you have a favorite actor and the actor comes out and says something about a human issue, a human rights issue or something, you that's just like, it pulls you back. He's like, what the hell is this person talking about? They have no idea. Or if it's like, hey, we should stop oil drilling here, drilling for oil here because of this. Like, you're not a geologist. You're not you have no business. You heard something that somebody else told you and you're repeating it. Have you looked into it at all? Hey Kyrie, if there's something about basketball, all right, something about being a point guard, how to do ball handling drills, tell me about that, please. Tell me about that. But head coaching, you've never been a head coach, so shush. Until you've done it, I don't think you should be able to discuss it or talk about it. I don't tell my brother how to firefight. There's a water shortage in the state. What if you firefighters use less water? That makes sense, right? What, do you need all that water to put out the fire? Just let it burn a little bit. I would have no idea what I'm talking about. And that's why when you see these athletes or actors talk about, policy issues and all these different things, they can talk about things that obviously they go on in their personal lives, things that they have experienced, obviously, just how anybody could. But when you're like, well, that person is terrible because you have no idea how things, go on in that particular line of work. It's like, what are you talking about? You have no idea what it's like to be a GM of a team. None. You may think it's like, oh, you just call a player and they want to play for it. No, you have no idea. The same thing with a head coach. You have no idea. You've never ran a team and where you're the main guy and were successful. Ever. Ever. You didn't do it in college. Maybe you did it in high school. That's it. And in high school, you can just have a good game and be singularly successful and run it and be good. Because you can have a great game and win. But when you get to the NBA, you're great. You can have 40 points and lose by 20 in the NBA. Because that's how good the talent level is there. College, a little bit. You can have a great game. You can have 40 and take over. You can do that. It's a little bit less effective than... But you go to the NBA, you can have a great game and lose dramatically. And before LeBron James got to the Cavs, he wasn't doing anything. When he went to Boston and had a good team around him, he didn't do anything. Underachieved. Got with LeBron James, the second best player in the history of basketball. Second or third. I would say Kareem. You can have an argument for Kareem, I would say. But just overall better player. Kareem didn't have the ball handling. But then you can say LeBron doesn't have the post-up game, obviously, that Kareem did. But I don't understand how these players, we don't have this guy could be the head coach. This guy could be the head coach. Then what is the GM pay? Why is the team paying Steve Nash $5 million? They could have got anybody. It's because he's friends with Kevin Durant. He just wants to hang out. Hey, Kevin, do you mind if I hang out with you for a little bit? And I know we're taking a podcast that they talked about, and they're just, shooting the shit and talking about stuff. But maybe they meant, we can run a play ourselves. Like, we know what's going on in the court. But if you say, it's the same thing. It's like if somebody is involved in the game and they're watching it from a different perspective. If you have a bird's eye view of the court, you're going to have a different perspective on the point guard that can only see what he sees. So it's like, hey, when you drive, you're not looking to kick it to the corner. You're looking to score every time. And so they're doubling, and they know you're not going to pass. How are you going to get an easier shot next time? You pass a few times, and then they have to honor that pass, so then that defender doesn't come over and help. It's real simple. But you wouldn't know that unless you had a bird's eye view, so you can look at different things. I don't know. It's just flabbergasted. So the last 10 minutes are going to be interesting. I don't know how interesting. Stories. Just random ass news stories about science, about a whole bunch of stuff. Let me bring it up. Favorite images. What images did I favor? Daniel Cormier's title defense? Why is that? I have no idea what that is. Okay, favorite pages. Okay, that's old Xbox Games Pass. Remember Mark Cuban. Finds Dante West. That's awesome. Man finds 9 I talked about that. See, I didn't delete these. I apologize. Body size. This is interesting. Body size of extinct Megalodon. Of course, I don't know how scientists even prove this. We're just taking their word for it. They're probably like religion and just making all of it up. Oh, you just attacked both sides. Yes, I did. Body size of extinct gigantic Megalodon shark. Otis Megalodon, indeed off the charts in the shark world. The new study shows that the body size of the iconic gigantic the iconic, the iconic Megalodon or Megalodon. Why is that making that noise? This is out of date. I don't care if my Gmail's out of date. Is about 50 feet. 50 feet. Can you imagine a 50-foot shark? In length is indeed enormously large compared to the body sizes of its relatives, formerly called Otodus Megalodon. Otis? Otodus. Is the second O silent? I don't know. The fossil shark that lived nearly worldwide, roughly 15 worldwide 15-3.6 million years ago. What does that mean? That's a lot of time. 15 or 3.6 million years ago? Or why can't you just say 15 to 4 million years ago? The first number is 15, exactly. Not 15.3, not 15.4, 15. Has received a renewed look at the significance of its body size in the shark world based on a new study appearing in the International Journal of Historical Biology. There's the Meg 50 feet. Jesus Christ. That's a big shark. Just eating everything that belongs to the shark group called, like another word I can't say, but the biology of the extinct form is poorly understood because of the cartilaginous fishes are mostly known only for its teeth, specimen all 13. This guy's there's a picture of this guy, and he's holding a shark tooth that's as big as his hand. I just want to know how big it was. And then there was another story I read. They found a 50-year-old great white shark recently. It's one of the biggest sharks they've ever found. Researchers find Queen of the Ocean. Yes, queen. So is it like Queen of the Ocean? Is it a female or is it a gay male shark? Who knows? Researchers off the coast of Nova Scotia, that's where the curse of Oak Island is, found a nearly 2-ton great white shark, and this is a real one, believed to be around 50 years old, coming in at more than 17 feet long. There's a Facebook group called O-Search. This thing weighs 3,500 pounds. It's almost 2 tons. Jesus. Can you imagine how strong that thing is? Just rip you apart. So I don't want to go in the ocean. I don't want to go in the ocean. I want to go in the ocean, but I don't want to go in the ocean. She's probably 50 years old, and certainly her first litters of pups she would have been having 30 years ago. Are also making babies really humbling to stand next to a large animal like that. When you look at all the healed over scars and blotches and things that are on her skin, you're really looking at the story of her life, and it makes you feel really insignificant. Well, yeah, when you realize how big the world is just in general and how big the universe is, but then you also have an appreciation for it at the same time. Great white sharks can live up to 60 years. Though scientists are constantly learning new information about the story of predators in the sea, always. They just believe they can live around the sea, yeah. That's what I don't like when scientists goes, they live 50 years. Well, we think they live. Scientists show, evidence shows that they live 50, but they could live longer. Yeah, then they bring up the Megalodon in this one. Good Lord. And the Megalodon was 50 feet long. It was almost 5 times as big. It was just interesting. There's a funny, this is from Fox News. Domino's investigating after pizza delivery driver caught rubbing ice cream container on his crotch. It felt quite disrespectful and very vile. There's nothing appetizing about this special delivery. The UK branch of Domino's. Of course it's in the UK. These tossers is investigating a pizza delivery guy who was caught on camera rubbing a customer's food on his crotch and then handing over the order. Jonathan Terry of Buckinghamshire, England, recently ordered from the pizza chain during a night with friends. Man was watching a movie with pals, digging up a tub of birthday, blah, 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 Ben and Jerry's. Then the article just ends right in the middle. It doesn't even keep going. Yeah, maybe his balls were cold. Maybe he's like Derek Lewis, the UFC fighter. My balls were cold. My balls were hot. Wanted to cool off his balls a little bit. We've all had sweaty balls. Unbelievable. Man's just trying to cool his balls down. There's a really cool... these graphics designers made a really cool Ps5 Spider-Man design. It's not real. Granted, it should be. Because it looks way better than what it looks, but it doesn't really matter what a console looks like as long as it plays games. But Google PS5 Spider-Man Special Edition. It looks badass. Let's see. Come on, load. There's a literal child. This is from Wired. A literal child and his mom sue Nintendo over Joy-Con drift. The class action lawsuits allege that the video game company hasn't done enough to address known problem with its controllers. And of course a pop-up happens. This is what I want. I want to see this stuff that doesn't matter. And then the pop-up just covers the whole screen but doesn't load completely. A boy and his mother today filed a class action lawsuit against Nintendo for not doing enough to fix a hardware problem common among Nintendo Switch controllers. It is one of several legal efforts related to the issue of the Joy-Con drift, a phenomenon where the Switch Joy-Con controllers make in-game characters drift even when nobody is moving them. This has been an issue with controllers since the beginning of time. The complaint filed in Northern California was brought to a woman named Lou Sanchez and her 9 or 10-year-old son, who, as a minor, is referred to in the court as MS. The complaint describes. How can you sue somebody over... And how do you know Nintendo hasn't done enough? Does the mom work for Nintendo? You can sue anybody over anything these days. Hopefully they throw this shit out. Suing a video. Don't buy the console. Get a refund. That's what they should be able to get the refund. Hey, asshole kid, you can't play Zelda anymore. Or buy the Pro controller. That doesn't drift. You stupid idiot. Ugh. Doesn't make any sense. Your dog. Okay, I'm gonna close with this one. Your dog may love you, but doesn't love the sight of your face. Study finds. That's why probably most dog owners are ugly as hell. You may think your dog is excited at the sight of your face, but researchers published Monday suggest that unfortunately, she probably doesn't. What about he? Unbelievable. Misogynistic. The study in the Journal of Neuroscience shows that dogs aren't wired to focus on human faces. What does make their brains spark is the glimpse of another dog. The sight of a human, not so much. Through MRI scans of humans and dogs, watching videos of both human... But watching videos, this is how they did it, but not real life? Are you kidding me? I love reading more about these things. I'm just like... Okay, this is cool. I read the first paragraph and that's it. And then I get more in detail and it's just like, well, we showed him video. Most dogs know that that's not real. There are stupid dogs that bark at other dogs on screen. And you're like, okay, that dog's retarded. However, do have brain region sparks when a member of the same species comes into view. Faces are central. Oh my God. This shouldn't even be an article. This shouldn't even be an article. Dog watches TV. That's what it should be. Unbelievable. I'm not ending on that one. That one was terrible. This is another video game one. The Xbox Series X design looks far better in person and is seriously quite quiet too. This is from Games Radar. Xbox looks better in person and in pictures. I've had the pre-launch console set in my lounge for the better part of a week now, and my appreciation for its industrial design has only grown over that time. When Microsoft first unveiled the Xbox Series X, designed back in September 2019, the monolithic slab of plastic cut an imposing figure. Sure, it excluded a dominant sense of power and confidence, but that isn't necessarily the vibe my small living room is trying to set. You stand over your competition. All right? You're vertical. You're supposed to be vertical. You stand up. You're a giant fire log. That's what you are, Xbox. But this guy just talks about how he likes it. That's an article about how he likes it. But the load times are crazy. Okay, I want to end on this story. This is what happened in Sea of Thieves. Those articles disappointed me. Those articles did. So, when I was playing Sea of Thieves, me and Corey were separated. She was on an island doing one mission. I went to another island to do another mission. I'm headed back towards her. A skeleton ship popped up. And what skeleton is just computer-controlled ship that just randomly pops up and shoots you sometimes. And you have to sink it, blah, 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 blah. So I'm still sailing towards her, towards an outpost, and we have all the treasure. We just spent 2 hours, and we still have all the treasure on board. I'm headed over towards her. I've dealt with skeletons, dozens of them. Never had any problems with them. They never sunk my ship or anything like that. So I'm shooting the cannonballs. You can only hold 10 cannonballs. So I shoot all 10 cannonballs at the skeleton ship. The skeleton ship veers away from me like it's going to go repair or get away from me. So I take this time to go to my cannonball crate, get more cannonballs. I get more cannonballs. I turn around. An incoming cannonball takes my head off. Just kills me instantly. I had full life. Of course, cannonball should kill me. Kill me instantly. At the time, the other ship shot the ship twice. So I have 2 holes in my ship, assuming that actually happened, or actually caused holes. Because sometimes you get hit on your boat, on your ship, and it doesn't create holes. So it took me a minute, 30 seconds to load back into the game. By that time, my ship was sunk. It was gone. I had no other alternatives to doing this. You should not be stuck in a loading screen for a minute 30. All of our shit went up, like it went under with the ship, and then it floats back up to the surface. And then, but by that time, because I put the ship's course directly at the outpost, all of our stuff was off the shore of the outpost a little bit, right? But another ship saw that we went down and came over to us to loot all of the shit that the skeleton ship randomly sunk. So I had to kill I think it was 3 to 4 people. We turned in, we have these Athena chests. They're highly valuable. We were doing Athena missions, and we had 3 items, or 4. 3 or 4 items. So I go over there, and I turn one chest, I turn one crate in. I have to go back into the ocean. I kill a person or 2. I go back to the island, turn that stuff in, and then Corey got a skull. She turned in a skull, and then everything else was lost. Everything else sunk to the bottom of the ocean. It was lost. Their ship sunk somehow. I don't know how the other team's ship sunk, but it was just maybe the other skeleton ship, the skeleton ship that sunk me, came by and hit them a few times. I have no idea. It was just it was 2 hours of collecting shit, and then a skeleton ship that should not have killed me. It obviously killed me with one cannonball shot, but it killed me, and I was not able to load back on. And that's why I want the Series X, because the load times are going to be much quicker. Much quicker. There's all these loading charts that I want to read. That I want to read to you right now. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to end it on. But that's what you said 5 minutes ago. So I'm going to go to Google here. And of course it's not working. Jesus Christ. I don't know why people just call it the Series X. People are like, I don't want to say Xbox Series X. Just call it the Series X. That's all you got to do. It's real simple. Loading time. Loading times. Loading times. Long time. How realistic is a no loading screen benchmark? It's like you're going to have loading screens. Can you imagine? We're not going to have... No, we're always going to have loading screens. That's... Xbox Series... Come on. 38 seconds origin, HDD, external, HDD. Oh, that's the Xbox One X. That's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted. I'm going to have a hard time. But it went from... There was Sea of Thieves that takes like 2 minutes to load to 30 seconds. And I was like, that's a huge, huge difference. Long story short, it loads quicker. It would have saved my life in Sea of Thieves. That's the podcast. I apologize if this is rambling. Hope you liked it, and let me know if you liked it on social media. Find me. My name's Chase Carter. Pretty easy to find. Most of the people that listen to this know me personally. Anyways, it's like my mother probably listens. I have 10 listens on my last podcast. It's probably my mother listening to it 10 times. But take it easy. Hope I didn't... Well, I was going to say I hope I didn't offend anybody, but honestly, don't care. Y'all have a good day. See you next week. Bye.